Okay, we're up and running on there.
Like we did a winning box, isn't it?
Mm.
So, do you want to tell us?
Good job we got the big tables for you, isn't it?
It is. I'm glad you did that.
Mm.
Do you want to tell us how you got involved in rugby and how you met at Illingworth and when?
Well, how I met at Illingworth was an advert in the Courier. All those wishing to form a rugby team go to the junction at a certain time. I went up there, Trevor East was there, then the committee members, Jim Bowers, Joe Boller, Les Bankier, Linda Warren were there, and we just started a rugby team.
And what year was that?
I think it was 1961. And we hadn't much idea. They arranged a friendly, Jeff Slater, the landlord, I've arranged you a friendly, and it's with an under-18 team from Wakefield, so you'll be alright. What he didn't tell us is they won the Yorkshire Cup the year before. We were going out on the field and saying, does anybody play hooker? Who plays fullback? Who goes where? We actually got annihilated. That was our first taste. Our first league match then was at home to Ovenden. We changed down at the junction, they changed at Forest Cottage, and they came on the back of a wagon. Got off the wagon, played on the field, on the side of Whiteland Road. That was our first match.
And Gerry, when did you join?
Well, I got involved with rugby at school as an under-13 at Ovenden School, and then, as I said, the teacher, Mr. Roy Shepherd, he started a rugby club down at Brighouse. So early years, up to being 17, I was down at Brighouse playing under 17s and then a season in open age. And then after that, Brighouse folded up, and I worked with a lad called Trevor Eastwood, who was one of the first one at Illingworth, and he asked me if I'd go and play for them. So yeah, that's when I first met Peter and the rest of the Illingworth lads, and that must have been at the beginning of the second season. So yeah, that's how we met.
And then you start a friendship up. I mean, Gerry was the best man at our wedding.
Yeah.
You become a group of people. You socialise. The centre for socialising was the junction, eventually the Talbot, and that's where we all met. That's where you used to go to after games. And that's when you get funny stories coming up. When we used to play in Lancashire, we used to arrange to meet at a pub on the way back for a drink. And one particular match we played a team, I think it was Shaw, not much washing facilities, we were all a bit grubby, and we arranged to meet at a pub, and we were in cars. First 2 or 3 cars arrived. What did we do when we went in? Somebody started playing on the piano. The landlord obviously thought, these aren't suitable clientele for my Saturday evening, and wanted rid of us. Next time I knew who plays the piano, you're out. The next car to arrive was me. I played the piano. Peter, give us a tune. I played about 3 notes and they nearly took my fingers off when the lid came down. Right, drink up, you're out. And then you arrived, Gerry arrived, went to the bar. Are you with this lot? Yes, you're barred. And even ordered a drink. Yeah, yeah. But then the other time it works the other way around. Near Christmas, I think we played Fit Nil, and we were in a coach for some reason. All our wives and girlfriends were waiting back at the Talbot. Coming out of Oldham, the driver said, I'm not stopping. The radiator burst right outside the pub. So we all went to the Imber.
Yeah, I remember that.
Pub there, and then we started singing. It was near Christmas. John Lynch led the singing. He sang his version of 12 Days of Christmas, but it weren't actually Major Milking or Lords of Leaping, but I thought we were going to get thrown out here, but no, all the people at the pub joined in. The landlord at the end of the night said, can you come here regular? Then of course, there was we didn't have mobile phones then. I think next door they had a phone in the shop, and we were going in there ringing your wives back in the Talbot. You're not going to believe this, love, but the coach has broken down outside the pub. Oh yes, tell us another one. So we had different experiences. But that was the centre where I'm back at the Talbot. And a typical week, I mean, your wives who were really football widows, I mean, you played rugby on a Saturday, on a Sunday you went in the Talbot to talk about the game. Monday We all met there for the draw, we're collecting tickets. Tuesday you train, Wednesday the committee meeting, Thursday you train, Friday you talked about the match the day after. I remember one time in the Talbot there, we're all sat there, Trevor Eastwood in particular, his wife walked in through the door, put his dinner on the table and said, "Well, you stay here, you might as well eat here." And as she walked out, Trevor shouted out, "Where's the HP sauce?" Yeah, happy days.
So what about the pitches you played on, Jerry? Were they memorable?
Very memorable. Yeah, the first pitch that we had just off Whitehill Road, it must have been the worst rugby pitch. It sloped three ways and it also had a ditch in the bottom right hand corner.
The 9-0.
Absolutely. And I always remember that if you're playing uphill and you're going to get onto the 25-yard line before you get to score, the dip went down and all opposition wingers would keep to the touchline, and then they didn't realise that to go down and up the other side. And it was quite easy for me as a loose forward cover tackling to go around and be there waiting for them eventually. That is probably the worst rugby pitch I have ever played on, and it was also one that contributed to me breaking the ankle. And then later on we then moved 100 yards into the next field, which was a big slope called Tar Hill, and that became our home for a few seasons. We had it levelled off as best we could and converted an old air raid shelter into the changing rooms, put floodlights in, and yeah, from there we was there until we got offered at Savile Park, didn't we?
So how long did you play at Whitehall Road?
Probably about
2 seasons, I think, was on the Whitehill Road.
Yeah.
Sorry, Whitehall Road.
And then Tar Hill must have been 5 or maybe 6 seasons there, if not more.
No more than that.
No more
And
than that.
then
But we
you
still used it for training.
Yeah, yeah.
And played at White, and then played on Savile Park. Yeah.
So what year was it when you moved from? Did you level Tar Hill?
It was the year they built Keighley Road West Housing. Wimpy's were the contractors, and it was their equipment that was used to level the field off. I'm going to stick my neck out and say a guess of about probably 1967, 68, would you?
Could be, yeah.
Yeah.
Late 60s.
Yeah.
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 I mean, you played there right until the early 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never went on Savile Park. I never played on Savile Park until Crossley's Field came up, didn't it?
Yeah.
And that was in about 1976 when Crossley's Field came up. And as I've told you before, the main 2 people responsible for getting the agreement there was Malcolm Holliday and Andrew Erkin.
And did you play at Crossley's before Illingworth Sports Club came into
No.
being?
No.
So that came into being in 82.
82, yeah. No, we played there, yeah. Then.
So that's when you started playing there.
Yeah.
Right.
And Malcolm and Andrew, they're the ones that spent all the time seeing local councillors, bank managers, brewery reps. They're the ones that got the agreement through, yeah. Yeah.
So you've got this team together, you're playing. Did you win anything?
The first match we ever won was the 7-a-sides.
Yeah, the first event that we ever did win was at 4 Fields. It was a 7-a-side.
On Saturday.
And yeah, that was the first trophy we ever won, but that'll be after we'd established for probably 4 or 5 seasons, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't expect to win. The whilst were there with us, we promised to take them all out for the night. We'll only be in 1 match, then we're off. And we went right through, and we only had 7 players, didn't we? With no subs.
We did. It's a bit amusing, but we didn't expect winning. And in the first round, we had a tough game against Greetland, and Peter scored the winning try with an interception try. And so we went into the second,
We played Ovenden.
and we played
Ovenden.
Ovenden in the second round, which was full of stars actually, because there were Derek Davis, who'd come back from Bradford Northern,
Yeah, yeah.
and quite a few more of the established Ovendene players. And surprisingly enough, we won that match. A bit easier than what we won the first match. And then in the final...
That was the easiest match, Siddle. We won it easily.
In the final we played Siddle, where they're absolutely nomads. Some had wearing different coloured socks and shorts and so forth. We really were the nomads. And Siddle turned up, they all had the tracksuits on and all in the blue and white strip. And they again were a team that were a quality team in them days. And we finished off winning them comfortably. And I'm not meaning to blow my own trumpet, but on that match I scored a hat-trick in the final and my brother Brian scored a try. So we won that match comfortably. But in the Courier, and it was more or less the first time I perhaps had my name in paper, it said the final was won by the Slattery brothers. Slattery brothers. And there were pen pictures of us all, and underneath me was Brian Slattery, and underneath Brian was Gerald Slattery. They couldn't have got everything more wrong. But that was the first trophy that we ever won.
Then by 1970,
It'll be in
Halifax Cup final.
the late 60s, wasn't it, that?
Yeah. We weren't a very
mid-60s.
We weren't a very good 13-a-side team. I mean, memories of playing on the Ovendene pitch. I was playing centre and my winger was Terry Phelan, and we were actually getting annihilated. Middle of winter, freezing day. Terry Phelan says at half time, if they score another try, I'm off. Straight after half time, Ovendene scored another try and he went back to the changing rooms. It got colder and colder and colder. 40 minutes later we went to the changing rooms and of course they were locked. And he was sat on the doorstep there absolutely frozen soft. Frozen solid. I think it must have been something about when I played centre, because the same thing happened when we played at Huddersfield Road playing fields. The one where you were on the touchline with your
broken leg.
Broken leg. And it was a bit of a rough match on my wing, and then was Maxie Stewart. Halfway through the game I went to pass the ball and it wasn't there. 10 minutes later he was on the touchline there, fully dressed, cheering us on. You got a bit too much for him, so
So tell us, you went to Thrum Hall in 1970 and won the Halifax Cup.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, we beat St Mary's, which became Park Amateurs.
We do.
Yeah. It was St Mary's.
Well, it's St Mary's.
They actually became Park Amateurs. Yeah.
All right, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you were captain that day.
Yeah, you were captain.
Yeah, but I can't remember everything.
Anyway, yeah.
Don't you remember lifting a cup?
I think so, yeah. No, yeah, we went initially, we were very slow starters, and we'd always give a good game against Ovendene, but they always had the edge on us for 3, 4, 5 seasons, and Siddle was similar. But then we got like into the late 60s and we did get a team together and we had some good players and we won quite a few trophies in a short period of time, 4 years. Different competitions. We won a few 7-a-sides when we played at Fartown, Huddersfield, which were the big 7-a-sides.
The biggest 7-a-sides was the Blackpool 7s.
Yeah.
And you couldn't get into those, invitation only. And we went 1 year and we took a team in case someone dropped out.
All right.
And someone had dropped out and we played and we got an invitation there afterwards. And then Blackpool Rugby Ground shut down, they moved it to Fleetwood. And we actually went to the 7-a-sides, Blackpool 7s at Fleetwood, and we won it. That was when Brendan White was in charge.
Right.
Coaching.
I'm going to say I don't remember that.
Yeah,
That was after me.
there, yeah.
Yeah.
But one of the biggest, I mean, they were very good sides in our league. Mayfield was one side. Mayfield had a very good side.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they had a good player, a prop called Kettlewell. He was an ex-pro. He used to terrorise our team. And we used to go there and you get the team ready and then you get someone turning around, oh, I can't come today, I'm decorating. That was by Wilby.
Mm.
And we had a name for it, we called it Mayfield Flu. We got Mayfield Flu. And then the tables turned because we got better and better. And I can remember 1 year playing at Mayfield and I was playing for some reason fullback. And the weather was atrocious. Halfway through the second half, we were winning by about 30 points to nil. I'd never done a tackle. And halfway through the second half, their captain went to the referee and said, if we stop now, will the match stand? He said, yes. He said, right, we're giving in. Off we go. Yeah, so tables did turn. Yeah. And you often get, I remember going to grounds where you got spectators getting involved. I think it might have been, I don't know, it was the first year we played, I think it was Ravensthorpe All Blacks, or they could have been called Overthorpe, and they played at a public park between Murfield and Dewsbury. And going across the pitch from touchline to touchline was a spectator path, public right away. And we got partway through the game and we were doing very well. We were getting in an attacking position and a lady walked straight across the pitch with a pram and the referee had to stop the game. So they regrouped, she did it twice. I'm sure there was no baby in that pram, it was just done. And the other place where you occasionally got spectator involvement was at Underbank. Down one touchline, you got all the farmers, and the farmer labourers there, all there with the walking sticks. It was a dangerous thing to run down the touchline there because invariably the stick would come out and you get involved. Oh yeah, those were the days.
So what about the social side of the club?
Social side.
So you're at the Talbot and that was obviously a major place to be.
We didn't go downtown, did we?
No, it was all around Illingworth.
It was all the Talbot, yeah. That was our social side, yeah.
We were well supported even when we were getting hammered in those early stages. You know, there was a good social side there, good support. Yeah, mainly with the Talbot with that one
It was in the Talbot, yeah, it was, yeah.
So what was it like moving from this nomadic existence and moving into your own clubhouse at Crosslers?
Well, that was, well then I moved to Blackpool then. I had opened a chemist shop at Blackpool, so I used to come across for committee meetings, but it was a lot better down there because there was a bowling green, everything went fine. Stan Garner was the steward, wasn't he? Yeah, it was nice down there for a start, yeah. But then I've not much memory of that because I moved.
Gerry, you'd been and done your professional bit, but then you came back to Illingworth.
I came back as player coach, yeah.
Was that a good time? Was it a good team? Did you play a lot?
I didn't play a lot. I'd more or less be substitute, and if things were going wrong, I used to go on the field and do a bit of direction to younger lads. And many times I'd just go on the field, and by being on the field, they raised the game for some reason. You know, I can remember quite well. I'd just go on behind, Bobby in behind, and go cover that side and go do this, go there. I'd read a game and look at their strengths and their weaknesses and try directing the younger players in that direction. And many a time, the second half, we would play a lot better and sometimes come away with a win. I'd play occasionally, but mainly it was my voice on the field more than anything when I went back.
The game's changed now. When we played, of course, contested scrums, and I graduated from wingman, full-back, centre. I ended up as a prop, and it was a whole different world in the front row, and we were very, very lucky because we got one of the best hookers in the league, Gordon Boole. It was useless in open play. I don't think he ever ran more than 2 yards with the ball, but as a hooker, it was brilliant. And of course, there's all different things now that if you talk to the modern day people, you talked about loose arm. They have no idea what you're talking about. And of course, the hooker had to have his arm around both props. And if it was called known as their head, their hooker was near the ball coming in than you. So if you could have his arm free, he could get right against the screen. You had all sorts, and the props. You used to have a niggle at the beginning of the game. He'd push you or headbutt you or something, and you do the same back, and it was even Stevens, and you settled down. The referees were very good in those days. You had a different type of referees, some poor referees, you had some very good referees, ones who were professionals. One of the best was Ronnie Jackson. and always Ronnie Jackson there. I can remember one game, somebody stiff-armed me, broke my nose, and there was blood all the place. The game stopped. Ronnie Jackson hadn't seen it, Ronnie Jackson. But then later on in the game, I knew I'd done it, so I went and got my own back. Ronnie Jackson saw that, no free kick, ran past and said, right Peter, 1 inch down, call it a do. But they let the game, they knew what to do, the amateur. Of course you've got different referees then that were Sergeant Major, remember Priestley?
Yeah, Priestley,
Yeah,
Glover, quite.
Your good referees and bad referees.
I respected the referees in them days.
We have to do.
They talk to you through the game, they'd say, look, you've been warned once, not to me personally, but to different players. I also remember one match, and I think it was Colin Berry, and he went in late, and he went in with the knees, and it was nasty, no doubt about it. And I think the referees also respected me to a certain degree, because I was a clean player, as Peter was. Hard, play it fair, but clean. And I know that the referee were in to get him sent off. And I approached the referee before then. I said, I saw that, you don't have to send him off, I'll send him off. And he looked at me, and he took my word for it. And he said, okay, Gerry, don't let it happen again. I got Colin Berry. I said, Colin, I'm subbing you. And he was smirking, thinking he'd got away with it. I said, no, you're off. And he didn't like it, didn't Colin, at the time, and I brought a sub on. But we still had 13 players on the field. We would have definitely had 12 on that particular game. So the referees, they were prepared to give a bit of give and take. And as I say, they talked to you, and after the match you were friendly with them, you know, so...
They had a difficult job.
Job.
Touch judges were one from either side, and we told you about the story at Bootown when Les Pears was their play coach, scored the winning try, and they called on 10 minutes to go, and our touch judge put his flag up, wanting touch, put his flag up. The referee was our ex-player, blew up the time 10 minutes early, ended up being chased up Swillsmore Road by Les Pears, do you remember? Yeah. They had a difficult job, referees had, didn't they?
So Illingworth back in the 1970s, you started an A-team.
Yeah. What an A-team, Gordon Booth and Alan Ralph, and I told you it was quite funny with the A-team and the first team, because sometimes you got picked by the first team by virtue of having a car. They picked the first team, the second team. The first team were playing at Mayfield, they think, wow, we've only got 3 cars. So you had to promote somebody from the second team to the first team because they had a car. But then they got quite possessive, Alan Ralph and Gordon, they got quite possessive, and they didn't like their players going into the first team. And you say, oh, so-and-so's coming up now, oh no, we want to keep him, so we'll play. So I had a bit of an argument. But we did have a second team, yeah.
And one that supported the first team pretty well over the years. And indeed by the late 90s, had actually won a trophy themselves, hadn't they? So that was good. And what are your memories of opposition? Who was your big rival? Was there a match at the beginning of the season you looked at and said, that's Saturday, we're going to win?
Of course, in the local league, it was Ogden and Siddle, wasn't it?
Yeah, they were always your big rivals in them days. Mixenden came for a short while and then they folded, didn't they? But mainly it was, in them days you wanted to beat Siddle, you wanted to beat Ovenden. They certainly put a good performance up because half the Ovenden lads drank in the Talbot anyway because they came from the same area, you know, we overlapped each other.
There were lots of players who moved between the teams, didn't we?
Yeah, there were quite a few times that, yeah.
Lots of teams. And of course in Huddersfield, when we had the Pennine League, the best 2 teams in Huddersfield were Lockwood and Mow Green.
Yeah, in
They
them
were
days.
teams in the days when in the Rugby League Challenge Cup, I think they only had about 2 amateur teams went through. They went through quite regularly. And again, we had a wind-up and we played against Lockwood, and they had a player called Black George.
Yeah.
And we had a player called Darryl Naylor. And Darryl Naylor was one of the nicest people you can hope to meet off the field. On the field, an absolute tearaway. And we wound him up before the match something shocking. Black George is going to make your life a misery. You won't last 2 minutes with Black George. Well, of course, Darryl made a line for him and absolutely annihilated him. And he got so wound up, Darryl, I always remember it now to this day, he was so wound up. He got the ball once, 25 yards out, trampled straight over Black George, straight over the try line, straight over the dead ball line, forgot to put the ball down. It was so wound up, yeah. But as I say, Gerry says our main ones who wanted to be was Ovenden because of the closeness and the intermingling of the players and actually being your friends. I've seen you go to the match and you take one of the Ovenden players with you, then you play the game and then you give them a lift back to the Talbot, yeah. It was friendly rivalry, it was a rivalry, it was Ovenden. I don't know if we ever played them in the final. We used to play Siddle in finals, didn't we?
We did play Siddle in the final a few times.
We played them twice in 1 year.
Yeah, and as you say, St Mary's, which then became Park Amateurs. No, I can't recollect playing them in the final of them.
Who's that?
Oh,
No,
Illingworth.
I can't.
No, I
I
can't
don't
remember.
remember playing.
That's surprising.
They might have played on when we finished.
I think, well, after we'd finished, yeah, maybe.
While we were playing, we never
So,
played.
so when did you both finish?
Mine, I actually, the last match I ever played wasn't for Illingworth. It was a workshops match at Tar Hill, 1976, I was 39. And I tore my ACL ligament. Didn't know I'd done it at the time, it just went down and it tore it. So that was my last game. What about yours?
Well, when I turned pro, it would be like 70, I don't know, 2 or 3. And I went away for like 2.5 seasons. Then I came back, and as I say, we didn't play in any finals, and I don't think we might have. So yeah, it would be a similar time to you that I've kind of packed in all together.
You got any more stories you want to tell? Any more thoughts?
You've got your
You'll
memories.
remember 100 when you finish, when I go.
Probably, yeah. A lot of incidents, you know, I mean, the grassroots, I were at Brighouse and at school, and then, as I say, my best years were at Illingworth, and then when I turned pro, to be honest, I was past sell-by date, to be quite honest at that age. The first season I played up at Thrumall, with 11 matches left, and we won 10 out of 11, and they just sold David Willicombe to Wigan. And we actually got promotion, then we finished second after Hull. And then I played the first 4 matches in the following season, and I broke my knee at Headingley. And I were out of action, then it weren't a bad break, because I did it in the first half and I played the whole match on it. But when I went into the bath afterwards, my leg swelled up, so I went straight to hospital, and they couldn't x-ray it because it was so swelled. They said, we'll come back on Monday and we'll have another x-ray on it. And I'd broken something on the end of my kneecap, and it was kind of right across, and I couldn't bend my legs, so I had a full-length pot on for 11 weeks. So that was like from October till just after Christmas. And then after it took my leg off, I took the pot off, this leg was as thin as old up to the other leg. So it took a few weeks to get it back together. I played a couple of matches in A team, and then I went back and played the last 4 matches in the first team. And we got demoted that year. We went straight up and straight down. And then, as I say, the following season, I retired halfway through. Well, at the end of it, I had an hernia operation. But I always remember my first away match. We went to Hull. I don't think I told you this on the other day. And there were a lad, there were some Australians playing for us, one was called Mark Watson. And we stopped halfway going to Hull, and we went for a lunch in this pub. Well, me and Mark went in late because we went to the toilet first, and all the directors, Halifax directors, Bill Hughes and all of them, and all the players were sat on the left-hand side. And there were no seats for me and Mark, so we sat on the other side of the restaurant. And girls come to us with a menu, and we looked at it and said, oh, well, bloody Sunday roast. So we both ordered Sunday roast, thought it were real, you know, because he was Australian, never been away to Hull, and I hadn't. And we sat there waiting, and then all of a sudden, half a dozen girls come out with these here trays carrying poached eggs on toast for all the players on that side, including the directors, Bill Hughes, Bordeaux, all of them had poached eggs, and me and Mark Watson is eating his roast beef and Yorkshire pudding. So we thought, great, and we thought we got away with it. But the following Tuesday training session, we went training, did as usual stint, went through the moves, played a game of rugby touch, and then Yours finished off with 2 laps around the field. So we do us 2 laps around the field, everybody's going back into changing. Yorkshire pudding, lads, keep going. So we carried on going and carried on going and carried on going. 10 o'clock when he brought us off the field, we stayed for an extra hour and a quarter just going round the bloody rugby field, and that's perfectly true. That was the first distant one. I played away the previous week at Rochdale, but that one, when we went to Hull, we stopped off halfway and it was a light lunch supposedly, but me and Mark, we had roast beef and Yorkshire pudding.
So when you were at Illingworth, how far did you travel? Where was the furthest you went?
The furthest we ever went with Illingworth were friendlies when we played down London, weren't it?
Oh yes, we had a friendly down London. Joe Buller's son arranged it, didn't he?
He did,
He
yeah.
went down, yeah. We had a friendly down London.
He was one of the founders, Joe Buller of Illingworth Rugby, when
Yeah.
Peter was there, and his son played for us, and then his son went working in London and played for a team in London. I don't know what the team was called, but it was on the what do you call the area? Loads and loads of football fields over there. On the it had all been swampland, had been converted. I can't remember what it's called. But anyway, we played down there and had a good week, you know, night down there. That was the furthest we ever went.
Yeah.
And then it was just the draws in the Cup, Yorkshire Cup. We'd play at Hull occasionally, or York, or wherever.
We once had a police escort out of York.
Pardon?
We had a police escort out of York.
Did we? I don't remember that.
Yeah.
I remember us getting a police escort out of Barnsley. But it was his wedding that we went. Not his wedding, but his bachelor night out, Anderson's.
And the part of the coach where, by the market.
Correct, yes.
All the trays of veg and fruit were delivered early.
So Gordon were playing around with it,
coach, yeah. Yeah, we did.
This is again Gordon move. He were playing around with vegetables and that, and one of the market stallholders were there, because it was about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, wasn't it? So he reported it, and police came, and we all rushed back onto the bus. So the police came on looking for this here guy who had been doing all the running around. In the meantime, Gordon took his wig off, and the guy goes up and down the bus, and he couldn't pick Gordon out. So they just, as you say,
they picked out Dougie Main's lad.
Did they?
We had club comedians. I told you about the first year there. You remember Martin Clegg?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Martin Clegg. I told you he was the club comedian. He was one of those. You get the modern day footballers go down as if they've been poleaxed. Martin used to perform that. We played at Huddersfield Road playing fields. They kicked off. The ball hit Martin straight in the face and he went down as if he'd been shot. We told the referee, ignore that. They're always doing it. So we carried on playing. He was still laid out there. It turned out he broke his nose, he was unconscious. Yeah. The shortest that any Illingworth player ever played on the pitch was the brother-in-law, Graham Halliday, at Saddle Park. He kicked off and his knee went. It lasted 1 second. That must be some sort of a record for the shortest times spent on a rugby pitch, yeah. Yeah, we've loads of memories, good memories. You make friends for life.
Yeah, you do. That's at any club.
You make friends.
You'll find lads that's been members of a club for 10 years, and they're still in touch with each other down the line another 20, 40 years later.
Unfortunately now a lot of them seem to
Passed away.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But just away from, well, it's not away from rugby, but that Martin Clegg you're talking about, he finished up a very, very wealthy man.
In America, came over here, yes. He actually had he had the gift of the gab.
He had definitely the gift of the gab. When he was here, he worked for...
We once went to Hull and came back, stopped at a pub there, and he went round the room doing "This Is Your Life." He took off him Andrews. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
When I went to America, the gift of the gab, he got a job with the broadcasting stations in some shape or form. Became still alive, a very wealthy man. Yeah.
He did more than that actually, Peter. When he worked in this country, he worked... Ben Shaw's pop.
That's right.
And mineral. He went and married an American girl who was very, very wealthy, and she come from in the country, they had a ranch and everything. And he was a salesman and he was selling water, different types of mineral water. And he finished up, he became an expert on different types of water. I don't know how he can do that. And he patented an ordinary plastic bottle. In America, he made it shaped as a woman's figure, like that. And it was a hit. And he finished up getting a lot of money out of that. And he had a big house in Florida, overlooking the lakes or the canals that were there, and a big boat at bottom. It's in the house. When I was going out with Maggie, I shouldn't be talking on this now.
So I'll get rid of it.
She was a very good friend, and she was in touch with him all the time, and she used to go to him and see. And I've seen the photographs of the house. But the last time I saw him, he'd come from America to Sweden, and he'd doing a conference, a seminar on different mineral waters and so forth. And on his way